I want to open with the statement that in Sacramento, our city and our regional economy is unfortunately still suffering, as I think we all know. I don't bring that up tonight to bring you down on a Friday night, and I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. But I bring it up because I think if we're going to be engaged in a conversation about the future of a city or the future of a region, for us, particularly here, that statement is a foundational fact and needs to be a part of that conversation. But moving on from that statement, in order to be productive, we need to ask ourselves a question. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, all right, what the heck are we going to do about it? Or put another way, how are we going to move ourselves from where we are now into our next economy? And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I have a proposal that I want to bring forward. It is technology-based. It's based on the technology sector of our regional economy. But first, I want to put a few facts out there. Not a lot, but enough probably to be a little bit dangerous. Set a little bit of a context. So we have, in the Sacramento region, we account for about 6% of the state's population. We account, however, for only 3% of the state's exports, and we account for far less than that 3% in terms of venture capital invested here in this region. In terms of our total employment base, 30% of our jobs are in the government sector. In the private sector, in terms of that employment, only 20% of those jobs contribute to what's called economic base activities, and that's basically a fancy economist way of saying 20% of private sector jobs contribute to activities that bring in wealth and revenue, et cetera, from regions beyond our own, and therefore increasing and growing our local economic base. 91% of the 70,000 companies in the Sacramento region have fewer than 20 employees. So all of those are factors at play as we think about where we want to be next. And so what I'd like to propose to you and suggest to you is that our region's innovative technology companies can provide a large piece of the puzzle to help address all of those issues. We have 450 technology companies in our region. I want to get that out there as a starting point. That's probably a surprising number to many of you. I'm very proud and pleased that we have that many, but we need more. They need to be bigger. They need to be more visible and better known. So tonight I want to tell you 3 stories as fast as I possibly can. And that I think will illustrate a few themes, and then just in case they don't do that very well, I'm going to tell you what those themes are, because I'm just that subtle. So the first story I want to tell you is about a guy named Bob. Bob and his friends in 2001 founded a company. They grew it for 5 years until 2006. It went from 0 employees, obviously, to 70 employees in that period of time. It went from $0 in revenue, obviously, to $40 million in revenue in that time. To support that growth, Bob raised 3 rounds of venture funding, totaling $33 million. The first round of that funding came entirely from internal sources here in the Sacramento region. The other 2 rounds came entirely from external sources of capital. With their business, Bob and their friends served customers, 95% of whom were not here in the Sacramento region. That company was sold in 2006. It was called Sierra Logic. It is now called Emulex. It was sold for $180 million. Emulex is still here in this region as an employer. Bob and his friends are still here in the region as talent and resources, some of them at Emulex, some of them not. Second story, Pam. Pam is a woman. Therefore, being a woman, she works twice as hard. Therefore, she founded not 1 company, but 2. She founded 1 company in 1995. She founded the second in 2006. The first one grew average, say, 56% year-over-year revenue growth for the first 8 years of its life. The second one, in the 5 years since it was founded, has been growing a little bit faster at about 150% per year. She has grown. The first company went from 0 to 80 employees. The second went from 0 to 100 employees and is still growing. She has raised about $120 million between the 2 companies over that period of time to fund their growth. And 98% of the customers that her company serves are outside the Sacramento region. The first company, AgriQuest, was sold to Bayer Crop Science for $425 million in summertime this year. Her second company, Marone Biosciences, is going strong in the city of Davis, my hometown, and has a great future ahead of it. The third story is about Tyler. Tyler really likes robots. Tyler likes robots so much he built a company so he could make robots. And not just any robots, he makes deep water undersea robots, and he makes the best in the world. He's an indisputable market leader. His company is called Schilling Robotics. He began it in 1985. I have not the foggiest idea how he first funded it, because in 1985 I was a lot younger, I lived in New Jersey, and I didn't think about business. But suffice to say, over the last 8 years, that company has been growing about 40% per year. Not 98, but 100% of Tyler's customer base is not in the Sacramento region. You may know why, just thinking about it a little bit. We don't have a lot of deep water. Tahoe, but still. His company was acquired by FMC Technologies in January through March-ish time period of this year. FMC Technologies is keeping the company in the region, continuing to grow it, doesn't want to detract from the expertise that Tyler has assembled around it. So why are these stories important and why are they illustrative? I think they all can address all of the issues that I raised at the beginning of the talk. First of all, they help bring wealth into the region. And by wealth, I don't mean a few people getting really rich, although that, yes, that does happen, and it makes me sound like a Republican. But it also means growing the pie, raising the tide, other analogies like that. You bring wealth into the region by selling to customers who are not here. You bring wealth into the region by raising money from investors who are not here, and you use those funds, you invest in people here, you invest in services here, and you invest in facilities here. That's where jobs come from. That's how economies grow. And that's what we need more of. The second thing that these companies do is a little squishier and more qualitative and may possibly spring from the long repressed poetic side of me. Because the second thing that these companies do is they help address an affliction that some people have said to me recently that Sacramento suffers from, which is an affliction of pathological modesty. That's not an affliction you want to have even in the best of times, and it's certainly not an affliction that you want to have when you're needing to recast, reshape, and grow your economy into its next stage of existence. So these companies, they're fast-growing, they're innovative, they're risk-taking. They invent new products, they create new markets. They're very proud of what they do. They like to talk about what they do. They're great ambassadors for this region because, frankly, most of the time, serving those customers, they're not even here. They're out there talking to other people, and that's what we need. So they can do things both on a quantitative and on a qualitative basis for our region and for our city and for our economic future. So if I've persuaded you, as I've clearly persuaded myself, that there is great power and great promise for our region's economic future that rests on the shoulders of these companies, I hope that you will join me and a number of other folks in this region in making sure that the environment that we have for these companies is one in which they can continue to thrive and frankly, do a much better job thriving than they've been able to do to date. Within 5 years, if we invest that time and that effort, I'm sure we will see the rewards. The rewards will look a lot like a company I met yesterday in our offices, an entrepreneur and a founder with a great idea. He built his great idea. He got some initial funding from a local investor. He's about to launch, or he's about to announce within the next 3 weeks, the closing of 2 major customers for himself. He's grown his company from 0 employees to 13, and he's got plans to go to 40 when he closes his first round of funding in about a month and a half. So this is the world that I get to wake up in every day, and it's a fabulous world. And within the next 5 years, I hope there's a lot more people in this region waking up in it with me. Thank you.